After my husband died, his sons told me I had 30 days to get out of my own home. I was 63 years old with nowhere to go and $20,000 to my name. At least that's what they thought. What Brandon and Tyler didn't know was that their father had left me something far more valuable than money. He'd left me the truth. And when I found the key hidden in his desk drawer, everything changed. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from, so I can see how far my story has reached. The rain started during the eulogy. I stood under a black umbrella at Sacramento Memorial Gardens watching water pool on top of Floyd's casket. 22 years of marriage, and it all came down to this, a hole in the ground, and 2 grown men who couldn't be bothered to arrive on time for their own father's funeral. My fingers were numb from gripping the umbrella handle, or maybe from gripping Floyd's hand during those final 3 months in the hospital. I couldn't tell anymore. "Mom!" I turned. Brandon stood behind me in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Water dripped from his perfectly styled hair. At 45, he had his father's commanding presence, but none of Floyd's warmth. His gray eyes swept over me with the same expression I'd seen him use when reviewing bad investments. "Brandon," I tried to keep my voice steady, "I'm glad you could make it." Traffic from San Francisco was brutal. He didn't apologize. He never did. Tyler appeared beside his older brother, softer around the edges, his tie already loosened despite the October chill. At 42, he should have looked younger than Brandon, but worry had carved lines around his eyes that made him seem older. "Jessica," Tyler's voice cracked slightly. "How are you holding up?" It was the first time either of them had asked. During Floyd's 3-month illness, I'd sat alone in hospital waiting rooms while they sent occasional text messages. Tyler had visited 3 times. Brandon had shown up for exactly 48 hours total. "I'm managing," I said. The funeral director motioned that it was time. I stepped forward to place a single white rose on Floyd's casket, the same flower he'd given me on our first date. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped it. I felt Tyler move closer as if to steady me, but Brandon's hand on his brother's shoulder stopped him. "We should talk," Brandon said quietly. "After this is over. About practical arrangements." Practical arrangements. My husband was being lowered into the ground and his eldest son wanted to discuss logistics. "Can it wait until after we bury your father?" The words came out sharper than I intended. Brandon's expression didn't change. "Time is unfortunately a factor, Jessica." I looked at both of them, then really looked. Brandon's eyes were dry-focused. Tyler's were red-rimmed, but he kept checking his phone. Neither of them had cried during the service. Neither had spoken about their father with anything resembling love. They were here for something else. A cold feeling settled in my chest, heavy as the rain-soaked earth being shoveled onto Floyd's grave. 3 days later, I sat in Floyd's home office trying to sort through 22 years of paperwork. The room still smelled like him Old Spice aftershave and the leather of his favorite chair. His coffee mug sat on the desk where he'd left it that last morning before the hospital. I hadn't been able to wash it yet. The doorbell rang at exactly 10 a.m. Brandon and Tyler stood on my front porch carrying briefcases. Brandon wore another expensive suit. Tyler looked like he hadn't slept. "We should have called," Tyler said as I let them in. "We're family," Brandon replied smoothly. "No need for formality." They followed me to Floyd's office. I took the chair behind the desk, Floyd's chair. The leather was worn smooth from years of his hands in the same position. It gave me courage I didn't quite feel. Brandon opened his briefcase with practiced efficiency. Tyler hovered near the bookshelf, avoiding my eyes. "Jessica, we appreciate you seeing us." Brandon pulled out a manila folder. "We know this is difficult, but there are some matters that need immediate attention." "What kind of matters?" "Dad's estate." Brandon spread papers across Floyd's desk. "The properties, the business assets, financial obligations. We need to discuss distribution." My throat tightened. "Floyd and I talked about this. He said everything was taken care of." "Yes." Brandon's tone suggested I was missing something obvious. He did make provisions, but perhaps he didn't explain the full complexity of the situation. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. "Brandon, maybe we should—" "The will is very clear," Brandon interrupted. He opened the folder with theatrical precision. "The house here in Sacramento, currently valued at approximately $850,000, goes to Tyler and myself jointly." Each word hit like a physical blow. The villa at Lake Tahoe, $750,000, also comes to us. The business assets, roughly $400,000, will be distributed between Tyler and me as well. I couldn't breathe. Our home, the place where Floyd and I had celebrated 22 anniversaries, where we'd talked about growing old together, gone. The villa, where we'd spent our honeymoon, where he'd told me he loved me for the first time, gone. And what about me? My voice sounded distant, unfamiliar. Tyler finally looked at me. There's the life insurance policy. $200,000. $200,000. For a 63-year-old woman who'd given up her career to support her husband's business. For someone who'd spent 22 years managing his household, entertaining his colleagues, caring for him through cancer. I see. The words barely made it past my lips. It's not personal, Jessica. Brandon's voice had the careful neutrality of a lawyer delivering bad news. It's simply that Dad always intended for the family assets to stay within the bloodline. Bloodline, as if 2 decades of marriage meant nothing. Of course, Brandon continued, we're not heartless. You can stay in the house for 30 days while you make arrangements. We think that's more than fair. Fair. They thought 30 days to uproot my entire life was fair. Tyler spoke up, his voice strained. There is one more thing. Brandon pulled another document from the folder. Dad accumulated significant medical bills during his final illness. The insurance covered most of it, but there's approximately $180,000 outstanding. The room tilted slightly. Since you were his wife and made medical decisions jointly, Brandon said the hospital is looking to you for payment. I did the math in my head. $200,000 from life insurance minus $180,000 in medical debt. That left me $20,000 to rebuild my entire life. But surely the estate, I began. The estate assets are tied up in probate, Tyler said quickly, and given the specific terms of the will, those debts are considered separate from the inherited properties. I stared at them both. These men who'd called me Mom at the funeral 3 days ago. Brandon with his cold efficiency. Tyler with his guilty avoidance of eye contact. I need time to process this. My voice shook despite my efforts to control it. Of course. Brandon stood smoothing his suit jacket. Take all the time you need. But remember, the 30-day clock starts tomorrow. And those medical bills, well, the longer they sit, the more complicated things become. After they left, I sat alone in Floyd's office, surrounded by the ghosts of our life together. My hands found the small drawer where Floyd always kept his personal items. Beneath old receipts and business cards, my fingers touched something unexpected, a small brass key I'd never seen before. I held it up to the afternoon light streaming through the window. The key was old, worn smooth with handling. On one side, barely visible, were engraved words, "For my Jessica, the truth will set you free." Through the window, I could see Tyler's car still in the driveway. He was on his phone, pacing, running his hand through his hair in agitation. Brandon stood beside his own car, arms crossed, watching his brother with an expression I couldn't quite read. They looked like men who'd just completed a difficult business transaction, not like sons who'd buried their father 3 days ago. I closed my fingers around the key. It felt warm in my palm, as if Floyd himself had just placed it there. Something wasn't right about this. The will, the timeline, the way Brandon had everything prepared so quickly. And Tyler looked guilty. But guilty of what? That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in the bed I'd shared with Floyd for 22 years, staring at the ceiling and trying to make sense of everything. The key sat on my nightstand, catching moonlight from the window. At 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Tyler. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Jessica. His voice was thick, like he'd been drinking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would be like this. Tyler, it's almost midnight. Brandon said it was all legal, that the will was clear, that you'd get the insurance money and be fine. The words rushed out. But I saw your face today. When we told you about the house, you looked devastated, I supplied. Silence. Tyler, what's going on, really going on? I can't, Brandon would... He stopped, started again. Jessica, do you trust Dad? Did he ever tell you anything about plans he might have made? My fingers tightened around the phone. What kind of plans? I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. But Brandon, he's been so strange about everything. Rushing the probate, talking to lawyers I've never heard of. And there's something about the medical bills that doesn't add up. What do you mean? I saw Dad's insurance documents last month when he asked me to file them. The coverage was comprehensive. There shouldn't be anywhere near $180,000 in outstanding bills. My heart started pounding. Tyler, are you saying? A door slammed in the background. I have to go, Tyler said quickly. Don't trust Brandon. And Jessica, if Dad left you anything at all besides what's in the will, keep it to yourself. Promise me. The line went dead. I sat up in bed, fully awake now. My eyes went to the key on the nightstand. If Dad left you anything besides what's in the will, keep it to yourself. Floyd had left me a key, with my name engraved on it, hidden in his most private drawer. What did it open, and why did Tyler sound so frightened? The next morning, I called Floyd's attorney. Robert Sterling had handled our legal affairs for 15 years. He was a kind man in his late 50s with silver hair and warm brown eyes. When his secretary said he could see me that afternoon, I felt a small measure of relief. Maybe Robert could explain what was happening. His office was downtown, 15 floors up, with a view of the Sacramento River. I'd been here before signing papers when we bought the Lake Tahoe villa, updating our wills 5 years ago. The space felt familiar, safe. Robert stood when I entered, genuine concern on his face. Jessica, I'm so sorry about Floyd. He gestured to a chair. How are you holding up? I'm not sure, I admitted. Robert, I need to ask you about Floyd's will. Something flickered in his expression. Of course. What would you like to know? I pulled out the papers Brandon had given me. Is this real? Did Floyd really leave me almost nothing? Robert took the documents, and I watched his face carefully as he read. His jaw tightened. His eyes moved rapidly across the pages. Finally, he looked up. Jessica, where did you get these? Brandon gave them to me yesterday. He said, this isn't the will I drafted for Floyd. Robert's voice was tight. This is dated 6 months ago, but Floyd came to see me 8 months ago with some very specific instructions. My hands started shaking. What kind of instructions? Robert stood and walked to his window, hands in his pockets. When he spoke, his voice was careful, measured. Floyd told me something I thought was paranoid at the time. He said someone in his family was stealing from him. He couldn't prove it yet, but he had suspicions. Who? He wouldn't tell me. Said he needed to be sure first. Robert turned back to me. But he asked me to draft a will that would intentionally look unfair to you. I stared at him. Why would he do that? He said if anything happened to him, you'd need to find the key. His exact words. Robert's eyes locked on mine. Jessica, did Floyd leave you a key? Slowly, I reached into my purse and pulled out the brass key. I found it in his desk. It has my name on it. Robert's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank God. He wasn't being paranoid. He was protecting you. I don't understand. Floyd suspected his sons were planning something. Not Tyler as much. He said Tyler was weak, but not malicious. But Brandon, Robert sat back down. Floyd hired a private investigator 8 months ago. I don't know what they found, but Floyd became very strategic about his estate planning after that. So this will Brandon showed me is probably real, but superseded by a later version. Floyd wanted Brandon and Tyler to think they were inheriting everything. He needed to see what they would do, how they would treat you. My mind reeled. And the key? I don't know what it opens. Floyd wouldn't tell me. But he said when you found it, I should tell you this. Go to First National Bank on J Street. Safety deposit box number 379. Robert pulled out a business card and wrote on the back. Take this. The bank manager is Patricia Nguyen. She's expecting you. Expecting me? But how? Floyd set this up months ago, Jessica. Every detail. He knew exactly what would happen after he died. I looked down at the key in my palm. Floyd had been dying in pain, managing his own mystery. All to protect me. Robert Tyler called me last night. He said something about the medical bills not adding up. Robert's expression darkened. I wondered about that too. Floyd's insurance was excellent. Those bills Brandon mentioned, I'd like to see the actual statements. You think Brandon is lying about the debt? I think, Robert said carefully, that you should open that safety deposit box before you sign anything or make any decisions. And Jessica, don't tell Brandon or Tyler what you find. Not yet. As I left Robert's office, my phone buzzed with a text from Brandon. Jessica, we need to finalize the estate paperwork this week. Can you come to my attorney's office Friday? We want to make this transition as smooth as possible for everyone. Smooth for everyone. Right. I texted back. I need a few more days to review everything. We'll let you know. His response was immediate. Time is a factor. The medical bills are accruing interest. I put my phone away without answering. Floyd had left me a key and a mystery. Brandon was pushing for a quick resolution. Tyler was calling me drunk at midnight with warnings. Whatever was in that safety deposit box, it was important enough that my husband had orchestrated an elaborate plan from beyond the grave. Tomorrow I would find out what Floyd had been trying to tell me. Patricia Nguyen was a petite Vietnamese-American woman in her early 50s with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "Mrs. Whitaker," she smiled sadly, "I'm so sorry for your loss. Floyd was a wonderful man. You knew him. He came in every month for the past 6 months. Patricia led me through the marble lobby toward the vault stairs. Always alone, he spent hours down in the viewing room. Hours doing what the vault was cool and silent, all polished steel and fluorescent lighting. Patricia stopped at box 379. He was very specific about this box, she said, sliding her key into the first lock. Only you and he had access. He opened it about 6 months ago. 6 months. Right around the time Floyd's health started declining. Patricia left me alone in a small viewing room with the metal box. My hands trembled as I lifted the lid. Inside were documents. Lots of them. The first thing I saw was a letter in Floyd's handwriting dated 2 months before his death. The envelope read, "For Colleen, open only after reading everything else." I set it aside and reached for the next item. It was a printed email exchange between Brandon and someone named James Blackwood dated 8 months ago. "James' dad's getting worse. The doctors think maybe 6 months. We need to move faster on the transfer protocols. Can you expedite the paperwork we discussed?" The reply made my blood run cold. "Brandon, I've prepared the documents as requested. Once your father signs, the business assets will be restructured under the shell companies we established. The personal properties can be transferred immediately upon death. What about the wife?" "She won't be a problem. She doesn't understand the business side. By the time she figures out what's happening, it'll be too late. Floyd trusts us completely. I had to read it twice. They'd been planning this for months, while Floyd was dying, while I was caring for him." The next document was a bank statement for an account I'd never heard of, Whitaker Holdings, LLC. The balance showed $4,742,000. My vision blurred. We weren't poor. We weren't even middle class. Floyd had been quietly wealthy, and Brandon had been trying to steal it all. I reached for the next folder with shaking hands. It was labeled Private Investigation, Confidential. Inside were photographs of Brandon entering a casino in Reno, multiple trips over the past year. Financial records showed he owed $230,000 to various creditors, most connected to gambling debts. Tyler's file was different. Not gambling medical bills. Children's Hospital Sacramento appeared repeatedly. One invoice was for $87,000, another for $112,000. There was a note in the investigator's handwriting. Subject's daughter Emma, age 7, diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, March 2024. Subject has maxed out credit cards and taken loans totaling $280,000 for experimental treatments not covered by insurance. I sat back, my heart aching. Tyler had a daughter with cancer. That's why he'd gone along with Brandon's plan. Not greed, desperation, but there was more. A medical report from a neurologist I didn't recognize, dated 3 months before Floyd's death. Patient shows no signs of cognitive impairment or diminished capacity. Mental faculties remain sharp and decision-making ability intact. Patient is fully capable of managing his own affairs and making sound legal decisions. Brandon had been telling people Floyd wasn't competent, but this report proved otherwise. The final document in the main stack was a different will, not the one Brandon had shown me. This one was dated 6 weeks before Floyd's death. I read it carefully. Everything, the house, the villa, the business assets, the Whitaker Holdings account, all of it went to me. Brandon and Tyler each got a trust fund that would pay annually, but the bulk of the estate was mine. A note in the margin in Floyd's handwriting, original, held by Mitchell & Associates, not Morrison Firm. I stared at that note. Floyd had fired Robert Sterling's firm, but Robert had seemed genuinely surprised by Brandon's will. Something wasn't adding up. I reached for Floyd's letter with trembling hands. "My dearest Jessica, if you're reading this, then I'm gone and the boys have shown their true colors. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you about all of this while I was alive, but I needed to be sure of what they were planning. I discovered Brandon was stealing from the business about 9 months ago. At first I thought it was just him. Then I realized Tyler knew but said nothing because he needed money for Emma's treatment. I hired an investigator. What we found broke my heart. Brandon has been forging my signature on loan documents for 2 years. He's addicted to gambling, drowning in debt. Tyler has been quietly moving money from client accounts into his own shell companies to pay for Emma's medical bills. Both of my sons are thieves, but here's what they don't know: I've been setting a trap. The house and the business I mortgaged both heavily in the past year. The house has a $1.2 million lien against it. The business owes $800,000 to creditors. They think they're inheriting assets. They're inheriting debt. The life insurance policy they mentioned is real, but it's not for $200,000. It's for $500,000. The extra money is meant to help you start over. I never fired Robert Sterling. I needed him to think he was out of the loop so Brandon wouldn't suspect. Robert is a good man. He'll help you when the time comes. But there's something else, Jessica. Something I need you to know. I didn't die from cancer alone. Someone in this house has been poisoning me. I don't know who. But I have my suspicions. There's a second key. It's with Dr. Elizabeth Warren at UC Davis Medical Center. She has evidence toxicology reports I had done privately. When you're ready, go to her. She'll give you everything you need. I know this seems cruel making you go through all this, but I couldn't let them steal from you the way they've been stealing from everyone else. They made their choices. Now they have to live with the consequences. You deserve better than what they were planning to give you. Take the money. Start fresh. And Jessica, be careful who you trust. I love you more than my own life. Thank you for 22 beautiful years. Floyd, I sat in that windowless room for nearly an hour, reading and rereading the letter until the words blurred. Floyd hadn't abandoned me. He'd been protecting me, but poisoned. Someone had deliberately hastened his death, Brandon desperate and drowning in debt. Or Tyler frantic to save his daughter. My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon: Jessica. My attorney can meet Friday at 2 p.m. Please confirm. We really need to move forward with this. I looked at the documents spread before me. The fake will. The real will. The evidence of theft. The mention of poison. Brandon thought he had me cornered. Thought I was a grieving widow who'd sign whatever he put in front of me. He had no idea what I'd just found. I carefully placed everything back in the safety deposit box except for one item, the business card for Mitchell and Associates that had been tucked in with the investigator's report. On the back, in Floyd's handwriting, Daniel Harper. Trust him. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number. A deep voice answered. Harper Investigations. Mr. Harper, my name is Jessica Whitaker. I believe my late husband hired you. There was a pause. Then Mrs. Whitaker, I've been waiting for your call. How soon can you meet? Tonight, I said. It has to be tonight. My office, 11 p.m. Come alone and make sure you're not followed. Make sure I wasn't followed, like I was in some kind of spy movie. But as I left the bank and saw my reflection in the polished glass doors, a 63-year-old widow in a cardigan carrying a purse that had seen better days, I realized that's exactly what this was. A game Floyd had set up, with me as the unwitting player. Only now I knew the rules, and I was ready to play. Daniel Harper's office was nothing like Robert Sterling's polished downtown suite. Located in a modest building in Midtown Sacramento, it was all function-over-form filing cabinets, a desk that had seen decades of use, and walls covered with licenses and certificates that spoke of serious credentials. Harper himself was a solid man in his early 60s with iron-gray hair and the kind of face that had seen things most people only read about. Former FBI, according to the certificate on his wall. Mrs. Whitaker. He stood when I entered at exactly 11 p.m. Thank you for coming. Please sit. I settled into a worn leather chair. You said you were waiting for my call. Floyd set this up very specifically. He said if anything happened to him, you'd find the first safety deposit box within a week. He was right. How much do you know? Everything. Harper pulled out a thick file. I've been investigating your stepsons for 9 months. What you found in the box today, that's just the beginning. He spread photographs across his desk. Brandon at various casinos. Tyler at Children's Hospital. But there were others, 2 images I hadn't seen in the safety deposit box. This is Melissa Sinclair, Tyler's wife. Harper pointed to a woman in her late 30s, attractive, perfectly put together. Married Tyler 4 years ago, but that's not her real name. I leaned forward. What? Her real name is Melissa Bradford. Her father, Richard Bradford, was one of Tyler's early investment clients. Tyler lost his entire retirement fund, $150,000, in a scheme that was borderline fraudulent. Richard Bradford committed suicide 5 years ago. My hand went to my mouth. Oh my God. Melissa spent 3 years planning her revenge. She targeted Tyler, made him fall in love with her, married him. Everything about their relationship was calculated. Does Tyler know? No. He thinks she's devoted to him. Harper pulled out another photo. But Melissa has been in contact with Brandon for the past 6 months. Look at this. The image showed Melissa and Brandon meeting at a restaurant, their heads close together. Brandon sliding an envelope across the table. What is that money? Melissa has been blackmailing Brandon. She knows about his gambling debts, his theft from Floyd's business. She threatened to go to the police unless he gave her a cut of the inheritance. The web of lies was dizzying. So Melissa married Tyler for revenge, then turned around and blackmailed Brandon. It gets worse. Harper's face was grim. Floyd suspected someone was poisoning him. He asked me to investigate everyone who had access to his medications. I found this. He showed me enhanced security footage from outside my house. Grainy timestamp 2:17 a.m., October 3rd. Someone entering through the back door. The figure was slim, moved with purpose. Could have been Melissa. October 8th. Same time, same entry point. Harper showed me another clip. But this time there were 2 people. The second figure was larger, masculine. Who I enhanced the footage as much as possible. The second person is Brandon. I felt sick. They were both there, both tampering with Floyd's medications. It looks that way, but here's what's interesting. Harper pulled up a third clip. October 15th, 1 week before Floyd died. This footage was from inside the house, inside Floyd's bedroom. I recognized the placement. Floyd had mentioned getting a security camera for peace of mind. The video showed someone entering Floyd's room at 3:00 a.m., going to his bedside table, handling medication bottles. The person turned slightly toward the camera. It was me. My voice cracked. I don't remember this. I know. Harper's tone was gentle. Floyd explained it to me. That night he called you. He was in pain and couldn't reach his medications. You helped him. I did remember vaguely. Floyd had been having a bad night. I'd gotten up, brought him water, checked his pill bottles. But why does it look like you were tampering with his medication? Harper finished. Because Brandon installed this camera without Floyd's knowledge, and he edited the footage to make it look incriminating. Why would he do that? Insurance. If anyone questioned the inheritance, he could claim you poisoned Floyd to get the money. Classic deflection. I stared at my own image on the screen, frozen in time, looking guilty of something I never did. But you have the original footage. Floyd did. He discovered the camera 2 weeks before he died. He kept the original recording as evidence. Harper pulled out a flash drive. This proves you were innocent, but it also proves Brandon was there multiple times when he told everyone he was in San Francisco. And Melissa? She was looking for financial documents to use against Tyler. But I believe... Harper paused, choosing his words carefully. I believe she saw Brandon tampering with Floyd's medications on October 8th, and instead of stopping him, she used it for leverage. They're both guilty. Of different crimes. Brandon likely administered the poison. Melissa witnessed it and said nothing. Tyler. Harper's expression softened. Tyler knew nothing about any of this. He's genuinely devastated about his father's death. I thought about Tyler's midnight phone call, the guilt in his voice. He'd betrayed Floyd by stealing, yes, but he hadn't killed him. What do I do now? I asked. Harper leaned back in his chair. That depends on what you want. Justice for Floyd, protection for yourself, or something else. I stopped. What did I want? Revenge. To see Brandon in prison. Justice to honor Floyd's memory, or something more complicated to save Tyler, who'd made terrible choices but had a dying daughter to think about. I want the truth, I said finally. All of it. And then I want to decide what Floyd would have wanted me to do with it. Harper smiled slightly. Floyd said you'd say something like that. That's why he trusted you with all of this. He pulled out another envelope. Before we go further, there's one more thing you need to know. The $800,000 that's missing from Floyd's accounts, the money that should have been in Whitaker Holdings but isn't, yes. Floyd donated it 6 months ago to Children's Hospital Sacramento, specifically to the Emma Whitaker Fund for Pediatric Leukemia Research. My vision blurred with tears. Tyler's daughter. Floyd created a fund for Tyler's daughter. More than that, the fund covers all of Emma's medical expenses for life. Every treatment, every medication, every hospital stay. Tyler just doesn't know it yet. Why didn't Floyd tell him? Because he wanted Tyler to understand that help comes with honesty, not theft. The fund was set up so that once Tyler admitted what he'd done, apologized, and committed to making amends, Emma's care would be covered. Harper's voice was heavy with emotion. Floyd loved his sons, Mrs. Whitaker. Even after everything, he just wanted them to be better men. I sat in that office as midnight ticked toward 1 a.m., surrounded by evidence of betrayal and murder and love so complicated it hurt to breathe. Floyd had protected me, had protected Emma, had even tried in his way to protect his sons from themselves. Now it was my choice. What to do with the truth he'd left me. "There's a meeting Friday," I said slowly. "Brandon wants me to sign papers at his attorney's office, finalize the estate." "Are you going?" "Yes." I met Harper's eyes. "But not to sign what he expects. I'm going to give Brandon and Tyler exactly what Floyd wanted them to have. Which is, I thought about the houses mortgaged to the hilt, the businesses drowning in debt, the fake will design to expose their greed. A choice, I said, to be honest or to face consequences. The same choice Floyd gave me by leaving that key." Harper studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded. "I'll be there, as your attorney of record. You're a lawyer too. Former prosecutor FBI and now private investigator. Floyd hired me for exactly this scenario." He stood extending his hand. "Welcome to the game, Mrs. Whitaker. Your husband set up every piece on the board. Now it's your move." As I drove home through the empty Sacramento streets, I realized something had fundamentally changed. 3 days ago, I'd been a frightened widow facing homelessness. Tonight, I was a woman with $4 million complete evidence of my stepson's crimes and the power to decide their futures. Floyd had given me more than money or property. He'd given me the truth and the freedom to choose what to do with it. I didn't sleep after leaving Harper's office. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with Floyd's letter spread before me, reading it over and over until the words blurred. Outside, dawn crept across the Sacramento sky, turning it from black to gray to pale gold. My coffee had gone cold. I didn't care. Floyd had been poisoned. Brandon was drowning in gambling debt. Tyler was stealing to save his daughter. Melissa was playing them all. And I was supposed to decide what happened next. The grandfather clock in the hallway, Floyd's grandfather's clock passed down through 3 generations, chimed 6 a.m. In 24 hours, I was supposed to meet Brandon at his attorney's office and sign away my rights to everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "Jessica, I'm sorry about last night. I shouldn't have called so late, but please be careful with Brandon. He's not thinking clearly." I stared at the message. Tyler sounded genuinely worried. But was he worried about me? Or worried I'd discover something? Another text came through, this one from Brandon. "Good morning. My attorney James Blackwood will have everything prepared for our 2 p.m. meeting Friday. He'll need about an hour of your time. Please bring ID and the medical bills for documentation." So polite, so efficient, like we were closing a business transaction instead of dismantling 22 years of my life. I texted back, "I'll be there." Then I called Daniel Harper. He answered on the first ring. "Mrs. Whitaker, I didn't think you'd sleep much. I need to see Tyler, alone, before Friday." Silence on the line. Then, "Are you sure that's wise? He's still working with Brandon?" "Tyler didn't kill Floyd," I interrupted. "You said so yourself. He's desperate, not evil. And if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to walk into that meeting and turn everything upside down, I need to know exactly where Tyler stands. He could warn Brandon. He could, but I don't think he will." I thought about Tyler's midnight phone call, the crack in his voice. Floyd believed in second chances. I think Tyler deserves one too, but only if he's willing to tell me the truth. Harper was quiet for a long moment. "Floyd said you had a good heart. Sometimes too good. But all right. Where do you want to meet him?" "Somewhere public. Somewhere Brandon won't think to look. There's a coffee shop in Midtown. The Daily Grind on 21st Street. I'll have someone watching just in case." "Thank you, Daniel." "Jessica," his voice softened. "Whatever happens, know that Floyd was very proud of you. He told me that the week before he died. Said you were stronger than anyone gave you credit for." After we hung up, I sat for another moment in the growing light. Then I texted Tyler, "Can you meet me today, alone? It's important." His response came within seconds. Where the daily grind was a hipster coffee shop with mismatched furniture and local art on exposed brick walls. At 10 a.m. on a Thursday, it was full of remote workers and students, everyone absorbed in their laptops. Perfect cover. Tyler arrived 15 minutes late, looking like he'd aged a decade since the funeral. His shirt was wrinkled. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. He slid into the booth across from me, hands shaking slightly as he reached for the coffee I'd ordered for him. "Thank you for coming," I said quietly. "Jessica, He stopped, started again. "I'm so sorry. For everything. The will, the medical bills, the way Brandon talked to you. It's not, it shouldn't be." "Tyler." I kept my voice gentle. "I know about Emma." All the color drained from his face. "I know she has leukemia. I know the treatments aren't covered by insurance. I know you've borrowed money you can't repay." "How?" His voice cracked. "Who told you?" Floyd knew. He knew everything. Tyler's eyes filled with tears. For a moment, he looked like a lost little boy instead of a 42-year-old man. "Dad knew, but he never said anything. He was giving you a chance to come to him, to ask for help honestly, instead of stealing." I couldn't. Tyler's hands tightened around his coffee cup. Emma needed treatment right away. The experimental protocol cost $300,000. I didn't have time to. Brandon said Dad would never understand, that he'd lecture me about fiscal responsibility while my daughter was dying. "And you believed him." Tyler looked away. "I wanted to believe him. It was easier than admitting I was too proud to ask for help." Across the coffee shop, a young mother was reading to her daughter, maybe 5 years old. The little girl giggled at something in the book. Tyler's eyes followed them, pain etched across his face. "Tell me about Emma," I said softly. His expression transformed. Despite everything, love shone through. "She's 7, loves dinosaurs and thinks she's going to be a paleontologist when she grows up. She's brave, Jessica. So brave. When they put in her central line, she didn't cry. She held my hand and said, 'It's okay, Daddy. I'm tough.' She sounds wonderful. She is, and I'm terrified I'm going to lose her." Tyler's voice broke completely. "The treatment is working, but we're out of money. The hospital says if we can't pay, they'll have to switch her to standard chemo instead of the protocol. But the protocol is giving her a real chance, Jessica. A real chance to survive." I reached across the table and took his hand. It was something I'd never done before. We'd never been that kind of family. But in that moment, he needed it. "Tyler, I need you to be completely honest with me. Did you know what Brandon was planning about the will, about pushing me out?" He pulled his hand back, wiping his eyes. "Not at first. Brandon came to me 6 months ago and said Dad was revising his will, that he was cutting you out because he wanted the family assets to stay in the bloodline. I thought, God, I'm such an idiot. I thought Dad was just being old-fashioned." "When did you realize the truth?" 3 weeks ago. Brandon called me drunk one night. Started bragging about how he'd managed the situation, how he'd made sure the properties would come to us clean, no complications with Dad's wife making claims. He said Dad's wife, not Jessica, not your stepmother. Tyler flinched. "Yes, and that's when I knew. Brandon never saw you as family. You were just an obstacle to money he thought he deserved." "Did you try to stop him?" "I called Dad, 2 weeks before he died." Tyler's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I told him I thought Brandon was planning something. Dad said, 'I know, son. I've known for a while. But thank you for telling me.'" He sounded sad, but not surprised. I thought about Floyd in those final weeks, knowing his eldest son was betraying him, knowing Tyler had finally chosen honesty, even if it came late. "Tyler, did Brandon ever talk about Dad's medication, about wanting things to move faster?" Tyler's head snapped up. "What? No. Why would—" He saw my expression and understanding dawned horrible and complete. "Oh my God. Jessica, are you saying someone poisoned Dad?" "I'm saying the medical examiner found elevated levels of a drug Floyd wasn't prescribed. I'm saying someone had access to his medications and motive to want him dead sooner rather than later." "Brandon." Tyler's face went white. "Brandon visited the house on October 8th. I remember because Melissa told me. She said he'd stopped by to check on Dad, but you weren't home. I thought it was nice that he was finally showing some care." "Melissa told you Brandon was there?" "Yes. Tyler stopped. She seemed nervous when she mentioned it. At the time, I thought she was just uncomfortable because Brandon and she don't get along. But now you're wondering what else she saw but didn't tell you. Tyler put his head in his hands. My wife, my brother, my own father. How did I not see any of this? Because you were focused on Emma. Because you were desperate and scared, and Brandon exploited that. He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. What happens now? Are you going to the police? Because if he really killed Dad... I'm going to the meeting tomorrow, I said, and I'm going to give Brandon exactly what Floyd wanted him to have, which is... I pulled out my phone and showed him a photograph I'd taken of the real will, the one that left everything to me with trust funds for him and Brandon under specific conditions. Tyler read it slowly. His hands started shaking. Dad left Emma's treatment fund. $500,000 immediate access if He couldn't finish. Tears streamed down his face. If you admit what you did, apologize, and commit to making restitution to the people you stole from, I finished gently. Floyd wanted to help you, Tyler, but he needed you to choose honesty. I don't deserve this. No, but Emma does. And Floyd believed you could be better than your choices. Tyler sat there crying in a hipster coffee shop while strangers pretended not to notice. Finally, he looked at me. What do you need me to do? Come to the meeting tomorrow. When Brandon presents his version of the will, I need you to be honest about what you know. Can you do that? Brandon will never forgive me. Brandon tried to poison your father. Do you want his forgiveness? Tyler shook his head slowly. No, I want Emma to live, and I want to be someone she can be proud of. Then be honest tomorrow. Whatever happens, I'll make sure Emma's treatment continues. You have my word. As we left the coffee shop, Tyler stopped on the sidewalk. Jessica, thank you for believing I could be better. I thought about Floyd orchestrating this entire scenario from his hospital bed, believing in second chances even as he was dying. Don't thank me yet. Tomorrow is going to be hard. Brandon won't go quietly. I know. Tyler straightened his shoulders. But it's time I stood up to him. I should have done it years ago. UC Davis Medical Center loomed against the afternoon sky, all glass and steel modernity. I'd called ahead. Dr. Elizabeth Warren had agreed to see me during her lunch break, though her secretary warned me she only had 30 minutes. I waited in a neurology office decorated with brain scans and diplomas, my hands clasped tight in my lap. Dr. Warren swept in at 12:35, white coat, flapping dark hair pulled into an efficient bun. She was maybe 55 with intelligent eyes and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who dealt with life and death daily. Mrs. Whitaker. She closed the door firmly behind her. I've been expecting you. You have, Floyd said if anything happened to him, you'd figure it out within a week. You're right on schedule. She pulled a sealed envelope from her desk drawer. This is for you. Inside was a small silver key, newer than the brass one, more modern, and a folded letter. Jessica, by now you've opened the first box and know about Brandon's theft. Dr. Warren has the medical evidence you need. The second key opens box 1247 at Wells Fargo downtown. Inside is everything else, the real will, the truth about my death, and the choices you'll need to make. Trust Elizabeth. She's one of the good ones. Love, F. I looked up at Dr. Warren. You knew Floyd was being poisoned. I suspected. She pulled out a thick medical file. Floyd came to me 3 months before he died. Not for his cancer, for neurological evaluation. He said he was having episodes of confusion, dizziness, heart palpitations, symptoms that didn't match his cancer diagnosis. She spread lab reports across her desk. I ran comprehensive blood work, found elevated levels of digoxin, a cardiac medication. Floyd wasn't prescribed digoxin. His oncologist wasn't prescribing it, but someone was giving it to him. My stomach turned. How much? Enough to cause serious cardiac issues in someone with his compromised health. Not enough to be immediately fatal, but over time? She met my eyes. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. They were speeding up the inevitable. Why didn't you go to the police? Floyd begged me not to. He said he needed proof of who was doing it, not just that it was happening. He wanted to protect you from being accused. Dr. Warren's expression softened. He loved you very much, Mrs. Whitaker. Everything he did in those final months was about making sure you'd be safe after he was gone. Did he know who was poisoning him? He had suspicions. He'd installed a security camera in his bedroom without telling anyone. He caught footage of someone tampering with his medication bottles. Who? Dr. Warren pulled out a flash drive. This is a copy of that footage. Floyd wanted you to have it. But Jessica, she hesitated. Are you sure you want to see this? Once you know you can't unknow it? I thought about Brandon's cold efficiency, Tyler's desperate calls, Melissa's carefully constructed lies. I need to know the truth. She plugged the flash drive into her computer and pulled up a video file. The footage was grainy but clear enough. Floyd's bedroom shot from a camera hidden somewhere near the ceiling. Timestamp October 8th, 2:43 a.m. The door opened. A figure entered, slim female moving confidently despite the darkness. Melissa. She went directly to Floyd's bedside table, opened the drawer where he kept his medications. She took out a bottle, opened it, and carefully added something from a small vial she'd brought with her. My hands clenched into fists, but then the video continued. At 3:17 a.m., the door opened again. This time the figure was larger, masculine, careful. Brandon. He went to the same drawer, but he didn't add anything. He took bottles out, examined them, seemed to be counting pills. Then he replaced them and left. What was he doing? I whispered. Floyd thought Brandon was checking to see how fast the digoxin was working, making sure Melissa's doses were having the right effect. They were working together. Floyd didn't think so. He thought they were operating independently but toward the same goal. Melissa wanted revenge on Tyler, and killing Floyd while making it look natural would destroy Tyler's inheritance while giving her leverage. Brandon wanted the inheritance quickly before creditors closed in. The video showed one more entry, October 15th, 3:02 a.m. This time the figure was me. I watched myself enter Floyd's room, approach his bed. Floyd's arm reached out clearly, calling me over. I brought him water, checked his medications, counted pills in the bottle. My past self looked confused, worried. I showed Floyd the bottle, my lips moving. Even without sound, I could see I was asking him about something. You noticed the pill count was wrong, Dr. Warren said softly. Floyd told me about this the next day. You'd counted his medications and realized he should have had more left. You asked if he'd been taking them correctly. I remember now. I thought maybe he'd been confused, taking too many because of the pain. You had no idea someone was actually stealing pills to hide the evidence of poisoning. I watched my younger self tuck Floyd in, kiss his forehead, leave the room. 3 days later, he was dead. Brandon has this footage too, doesn't he? I asked. That's how he knew to accuse me. Floyd suspected Brandon found his camera and copied the files. That's why Floyd made sure I had the originals complete with timestamps showing Melissa and Brandon's entries before yours. Dr. Warren closed the laptop. The official cause of death was heart failure secondary to cancer. Technically true, but the digoxin accelerated it significantly. Her voice was heavy. If you want to pursue criminal charges, I have all the medical evidence you need. But Jessica, it's been 3 weeks. The autopsy's done. Floyd's been cremated. Proving murder now would be extremely difficult. What would you do? I asked. If you were me. She was quiet for a long moment. Floyd asked me the same question. He wanted to know if I'd report it to the police. I said yes, absolutely. And he said, Elizabeth, some justice happens in courtrooms. Some happens in people's hearts. I want Jessica to choose which kind she needs. I looked at the sealed envelope in my hands, the key to the second safe deposit box, more evidence, more truths. Floyd set this up so I could decide, I said slowly. Criminal charges or something else. He trusted your judgment more than his own. Dr. Warren stood. Whatever you choose, I'll support it. My evidence is yours if you need it. As I left UC Davis Medical Center, the afternoon sun felt too bright, too normal for what I'd just learned. Melissa had poisoned Floyd. Brandon had monitored the progress, and I'd been there innocent and oblivious, counting pills and never imagining the truth. Tomorrow's meeting was no longer just about money or property. It was about justice for Floyd. The question was what kind Wells Fargo Bank downtown was cool and hushed, all marble and efficiency. The vault manager led me to box 1247 without small talk. Maybe she saw something in my face that suggested I needed silence. Box 1247 was larger than the first, heavier. Inside were documents that would change everything. The first item was a DVD in a clear case labeled in Floyd's handwriting. For Jessica, watch this first. I asked the vault manager if there was a way to view it. She led me to a small room with a computer, then left me alone. I pressed play. Floyd's face filled the screen. This had been recorded in our home office maybe 3 weeks before he died. He looked gaunt, tired, but his eyes were sharp. "Hello, my love." His voice made my throat tighten. "If you're watching this, then I'm gone. And you found both keys. I knew you would. You're smarter than you give yourself credit for." He shifted in his chair, wincing slightly. "I'm dying, Jessica. We both know that. But someone is trying to speed things along. I've caught them on camera, Melissa mainly. Brandon too, though I think his role is different." Floyd's hands clasped together on his desk. "I could go to the police, have them arrested. But here's the thing, Tyler loves Melissa. He has no idea who she really is. And if I expose her now, it destroys him right when Emma needs him most. Some justice costs too much collateral damage." He leaned toward the camera. "I'm giving you a choice, Jessica. A choice I don't have the right to make because I'll be gone. You can take the evidence to the police. Dr. Warren has everything you need. Melissa will go to prison. Brandon too, probably." A pause. "Or you can do what I've set up instead. Give them exactly what they think they want the inheritance, but with conditions that will either save them or destroy them based on their own choices. Let them face consequences without taking away Tyler's wife when he's trying to save his daughter." Floyd's expression softened. "I know which choice I'd make, but that's not fair to you. You're the one who has to live with the aftermath, so I'm leaving it in your hands, my love. Criminal justice or poetic justice. Either way, the truth comes out. Either way, you'll be protected." He smiled, and it broke my heart. "Whatever you choose, know that I love you. Know that every single thing I've done has been to make sure you're safe, secure, and free to live the life you deserve. You've given me 22 years of happiness. Now I'm giving you the truth and the power to decide what to do with it." The video ended. I sat in that small room, tears streaming down my face. Floyd had set up an elaborate trap, gathered all the evidence, but left the final choice to me. I could destroy Brandon and Melissa with a phone call to the police. Or I could play the game Floyd had designed and let them destroy themselves. The rest of Box 1247 contained everything I needed for either path. The real will properly executed and notarized. Documents showing the mortgages Floyd had taken on the property's $2.1 million in debt, disguised as assets. Evidence of Brandon's gambling and embezzlement. Evidence of Tyler's theft. Melissa's real identity, the full toxicology reports. And one more thing, a letter addressed to Tyler. I opened it carefully. "Son, if Jessica is reading this to you, then she's chosen mercy over vengeance. That's who she is, someone who sees the best in people, even when they've shown her their worst. The $800,000 I hid has been in Emma's treatment fund all along. Every penny she needs for the rest of her life. I just needed you to stop lying first. Be honest, Tyler. Be the father Emma deserves. And be grateful that Jessica is a better person than either of us had any right to expect. Love, Dad." I carefully placed everything back in the box except for the real will and Floyd's letters. Tomorrow's meeting was 12 hours away. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I called Daniel Harper at 6 p.m. "I'm ready," I said. "Tomorrow I'm giving them everything." Everything. The truth, the evidence, the choice. I took a deep breath. "Floyd set this up as a test. I'm going to follow through." "You're not pressing criminal charges." "Not yet. I want to see what they do when faced with the truth. If they choose honesty, maybe there's hope. If they choose to keep lying..." I thought about Melissa's calculated poisoning, Brandon's cold monitoring. "Then I'll do what needs to be done." Harper was quiet for a moment. "You're stronger than Floyd thought, and he thought you were pretty damn strong. Can you be at Blackwood's office tomorrow, 2 p.m., as my attorney?" "I'll be there. And Jessica, I'm bringing copies of everything, just in case someone tries to get physical when the truth comes out." After we hung up, I called Tyler. "Tomorrow, when Brandon presents his will, I need you to tell the truth. All of it. Can you do that?" "Yes." His voice was steady. "Melissa knows something's wrong. She keeps asking why I'm nervous, but I haven't told her anything." "Good. Tyler, this is important. After tomorrow, your life changes. Either you choose honesty and get help for Emma, or you choose to protect Brandon and Melissa and lose everything. There's no middle ground." "I understand." A pause. "Jessica, whatever happens, thank you for giving me this chance." The hardest call was to Robert Sterling. Robert, I need you to do something for me tomorrow. Can you file the real will with probate court at exactly 2:30 p.m.? 2:30, that's very specific. The meeting with Brandon starts at 2. I want the real will filed while we're talking, so when he realizes what's happening, it's already too late to stop it. Robert's voice filled with grim satisfaction. Floyd would love this plan. Floyd designed this plan. I'm just following his instructions. That night, I laid out my outfit for the meeting. Not the cardigan and slacks of a grieving widow. Instead, a navy suit Floyd had bought me for our 20th anniversary. Professional, confident, powerful. I was done playing the victim. Tomorrow, I became the executor of Floyd's final wishes, and Brandon, Melissa, and Tyler would face the consequences of every choice they'd made. James Blackwood's law office occupied the 10th floor of a glass building in downtown Sacramento. I arrived at 1:55 p.m., Daniel Harper beside me carrying a briefcase full of evidence. The receptionist looked surprised to see me with an attorney. Mrs. Whitaker, we weren't expecting ye. Mr. Harper is my legal counsel, I said calmly. I assume there's no objection to his presence. She recovered quickly. Of course not. Right this way. The conference room had windows overlooking the Sacramento River. Brandon sat at one end of the table, perfectly pressed suit, confident smile. Tyler sat beside him, looking like he might throw up. Melissa was there too. I hadn't expected that. She wore designer clothes and a sympathetic expression that didn't reach her eyes. James Blackwood stood as we entered, a man in his 60s with silver hair and the predatory alertness of a shark. Mrs. Whitaker, welcome. His eyes flicked to Daniel. And you are Daniel Harper, Mrs. Whitaker's attorney. Brandon's confidence flickered. Jessica, I didn't realize you felt you needed legal representation. This is just a formality. Formalities are exactly when you need lawyers, Daniel replied smoothly. We all sat. The air crackled with tension. Blackwood opened a folder. Well then, let's begin. Mrs. Whitaker, we've prepared documents for the estate distribution according to Floyd Whitaker's last will and testament dated April 2024. I've seen that will, I said quietly. Brandon gave me a copy last week. Excellent. Then you understand the basic distribution. The Sacramento residence and Lake Tahoe property to Brandon and Tyler jointly. Business assets divided between them. Life insurance to you. And the medical debts. Approximately $180,000, which as Floyd's spouse you're responsible for covering. Blackwood slid papers across the table. If you'll just sign here, here, and here, we can finalize everything today. I didn't touch the papers. Instead, I pulled out my own folder. Before I sign anything, I have some questions. About the medical bills specifically. Brandon shifted. Jessica, we've been over this. Floyd's insurance was comprehensive. I've reviewed his policies. They should have covered everything except maybe $20,000 in deductibles. I met Blackwood's eyes. Where did the other $160,000 come from? Blackwood glanced at Brandon. Just for a second, but I caught it. Medical billing is complex, he said smoothly. There are often charges that aren't covered. Show me the bills. I kept my voice level. The actual hospital statements. I'd like my attorney to review them. That's not necessary. It is if you're asking me to pay them. Daniel opened his briefcase. I've actually already obtained the billing records from Floyd's medical providers, with Mrs. Whitaker's authorization as his widow. He spread documents across the table. The total outstanding charges from all sources come to $19,412, not $180,000. The insurance covered everything else. Silence. Melissa's hand went to her throat. Tyler closed his eyes. Brandon recovered first. There must be some mistake. No mistake. Daniel pulled out more papers. But I did find something interesting. A loan application in Floyd's name for $160,000 filed 3 months before his death, with Floyd's forged signature. He slid the document toward Brandon. That's your handwriting on the application, isn't it, Mr. Whitaker? Brandon's face went white. You took out a loan using your dying father's name and creditworthiness. Then you tried to make Jessica pay it back by calling it medical debt. That's absurd. I would never... The bank has handwriting analysis that says otherwise. Daniel's voice was ice. Fraud and forgery. Both felonies. Tyler spoke for the first time. Brandon, what did you do? Shut up, Tyler. Brandon's composure was cracking. Jessica, this is clearly a misunderstanding. Is it? I pulled out the next item from my folder. The emails between Brandon and Blackwood about managing the stepmother problem. I slid them across the table. These are interesting. Discussing how to minimize my claims before Floyd was even dead. Planning asset transfers while he was still alive. Blackwood's face went gray. Where did you get those? Floyd hired a private investigator 9 months ago. He documented everything. I looked at Brandon. Every forged signature, every dollar you embezzled from his business, every hour you spent in casinos while he was dying. Brandon shot to his feet. This is entrapment. No, Daniel said calmly. This is evidence. I turned to Melissa. She'd been very quiet, her perfect composure intact. Mrs. Sinclair, or should I say Ms. Bradford? Her eyes widened, just slightly. Your father was Richard Bradford. He lost his life savings in an investment scheme run by Tyler. He committed suicide 5 years ago. I kept my voice gentle but firm. You married Tyler to destroy him, didn't you? Tyler's head snapped toward his wife. What? Melissa's mask finally cracked. Richard Bradford was my father. Tyler stole everything from him. I didn't steal. Tyler's voice broke. That investment was legitimate. It failed. I lost money too. You lost other people's money. Melissa's facade shattered completely. My father trusted you. He gave you his retirement. And when it was gone, when he had nothing left, he put a gun in his mouth. The room went silent. Tyler sat frozen, horror on his face. I'm sorry, he whispered. God, Melissa, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. You didn't care. Tears streamed down her face. None of you cared about the people you hurt. So I decided to hurt you back. I pulled out the security footage. Is that why you poisoned Floyd, to hurt Tyler by taking away his father and his inheritance? Every eye in the room turned to Melissa. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice shook. Daniel pressed play on his laptop. The footage from Floyd's bedroom appeared on the screen. We all watched Melissa enter, go to the medications, add something from her vial. When it ended, the silence was deafening. Tyler stared at his wife. You killed my father. He was dying anyway, Melissa said, but there was no conviction in her voice now, only devastation. You killed him. You poisoned him. And you let me think. Tyler put his head in his hands. Brandon found his voice. This is insane. Even if that footage is real, you can't prove what was in that vial. Daniel pulled out Dr. Warren's toxicology reports. Digoxin, elevated levels in Floyd's system for weeks before his death. Enough to cause cardiac failure in someone with his compromised health. He looked at Melissa. You're a nurse, Ms. Bradford. You knew exactly what dosage to use. Not enough to be immediately obvious. Just enough to speed things along. Melissa said nothing. I pulled out one final piece of evidence. The second video clip showing Brandon in Floyd's room checking the medications. You knew, I said to Brandon. Maybe you didn't poison him yourself, but you knew Melissa was doing it. And you did nothing because it served your purposes. Brandon sat down heavily. This is... You can't... We can, Daniel said. Melissa for murder. You for accessory. Both of you for fraud, embezzlement, elder abuse. I looked at Tyler. His world was crumbling around him. His wife a murderer, his brother a monster. Tyler, I said softly. Floyd left you something. He left it before he died, before any of this happened. I slid the letter across the table. Tyler opened it with shaking hands, read it, and broke down completely. Dad knew. He knew about Emma's fund. He was trying to help me all along, and I was too proud, too stupid. Sobs choked off his words. I stood gathering my papers. I'm not signing your fraudulent documents, Mr. Blackwood. The real will is being filed with probate court as we speak. Robert Sterling has the original. Brandon's head snapped up. What, me? Floyd's actual last will dated 6 weeks before his death, leaving everything to me with conditions for your inheritances based on honesty and restitution. I looked at both brothers. You have a choice. Tyler, you can admit what you did, make amends to the people you stole from, and access Emma's treatment fund. Or you can protect Melissa and Brandon and face criminal charges alongside them. Tyler didn't hesitate. I'll admit everything. I'll make it right. Just please, Emma will have everything she needs, I said gently. Floyd made sure of that. I turned to Brandon. You can return what you stole, enter treatment for your gambling addiction, and accept the limited trust fund Floyd left you. or you can face prosecution for fraud, embezzlement, and accessory to murder." Brandon stared at me with pure hatred. "You're going to regret this." "No," I said quietly. "I'm going to sleep well tonight for the first time in months, because Floyd trusted me to do the right thing, and I did." I picked up my purse. "Daniel will be in touch with what happens next. That depends entirely on the choices each of you makes." As we walked out, I heard Melissa start to cry. Real tears, now not calculated ones. Tyler calling after me, "Jessica, thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance." And Brandon in a voice full of venom, "This isn't over." But it was. Floyd's plan had worked perfectly. The truth was out. The choice was theirs. And I was finally free. The police arrived at James Blackwood's office 17 minutes after I called them. I stood in the lobby with Daniel while Brandon shouted behind the closed conference room door. Tyler sat in a chair, head in his hands, silent. Melissa stared out the window like she could will herself to disappear. Mrs. Whitaker, Detective Sarah Martinez, was a woman in her early 40s with sharp eyes and a kind voice. "I understand you have evidence of a possible homicide." Daniel handed her the flash drive. Security footage showing Melissa Sinclair administering poison to Floyd Whitaker over a 3-week period. Toxicology reports from Dr. Elizabeth Warren at UC Davis confirming elevated digoxin levels. Medical examiner's report listing cause of death as cardiac failure. Detective Martinez's expression hardened as she reviewed the documents. "And the victim's son knew about this." Brandon Whitaker monitored the poisoning but didn't report it. He benefited financially from expediting his father's death. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I watched Brandon pacing. He looked trapped, desperate. Nothing like the confident man who'd told me I had 30 days to leave my own home. Tyler stood suddenly and walked out to where we waited. "Detective, I need to make a statement." His voice was steady despite the tears on his face. "I stole money from my father's business. I forged documents. I knew Brandon was planning something wrong, and I didn't stop him because I was desperate for my share of the inheritance." Detective Martinez pulled out a notepad. "Mr. Whitaker, you should probably have an attorney present." "No." Tyler looked at me. "Jessica gave me a choice. Honesty or consequences. I'm choosing honesty." "Tyler, don't be stupid." Brandon appeared in the doorway, Blackwood beside him. "Brandon Whitaker." Detective Martinez stood. "I need you to come with me. We have some questions about your father's death." Brandon's face went from red to white. "I want my lawyer." "That's your right." She turned to Melissa. "Ms. Bradford, you too." Melissa stood gracefully, her designer clothes and perfect hair suddenly looking like a costume. "It's Sinclair, Melissa Sinclair." "Your legal name is Melissa Bradford. We know who you are." Detective Martinez's voice was firm but not unkind. "We also know what your father went through. But that doesn't justify murder." Melissa's composure finally shattered completely. "I just wanted them to hurt the way I hurt. The way my father hurt." "I know." The detective gestured to a uniformed officer. "But that's not how justice works." As they led Melissa and Brandon away, Tyler grabbed my arm. "Emma, Jessica, please Melissa's arrest. This is going to destroy her. And I'm going to jail too, aren't I? Who's going to take care of Emma?" I put my hand over his. "Floyd set up a trust. Emma has guardianship provisions, medical coverage, everything she needs. And Tyler," I looked him in the eyes, "Floyd's will has conditions for you. If you cooperate with the investigation, make full restitution, and complete therapy, you'll get probation instead of prison time. Floyd made sure of it." How did he loved you, even after everything." My throat tightened. "He just wanted you to choose to be better." Tyler broke down completely. "I don't deserve this. I don't deserve any of it. No. But Emma deserves a father. Be the man she needs you to be." The Sacramento County Courthouse was cold despite the December sunshine outside. I sat in the gallery watching as Melissa Bradford was sentenced. She'd pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter. Her attorney had argued that extreme emotional disturbance from her father's death had impaired her judgment. The prosecution accepted the plea to avoid a lengthy trial. The judge was a severe woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen everything. "Ms. Bradford, you took the life of a dying man out of revenge. You robbed his family of precious time with him." She looked at Melissa over her reading glasses. However, I also recognize that you were driven by genuine grief over your father's death, a death that resulted from financial crimes Mr. Tyler Whitaker has now admitted to and is making restitution for. Melissa stood perfectly still, tears streaming silently down her face. I sentence you to 8 years in state prison, eligible for parole after serving 5. Additionally, you will complete psychological counseling and substance abuse treatment. 8 years. Melissa would be 46 when she got out. As they led her away, she looked at Tyler in the gallery. He'd lost weight, looked older, but his eyes were clear. Sober for 63 days, according to his latest call. Melissa mouthed something. I couldn't hear, but Tyler nodded, tears in his eyes. I thought it might have been, "I'm sorry." Brandon's trial was different. He refused the plea deal. Insisted he'd done nothing wrong. His lawyer was expensive and aggressive, attacking every piece of evidence. But the jury deliberated for only 4 hours. Guilty on all counts: fraud, embezzlement, elder abuse, accessory to manslaughter. The judge gave him 15 years. Brandon's face showed no remorse as they read the verdict, only anger. As they led him out, he looked directly at me. "You'll regret this, Jessica. All of it." But his words had no power anymore. Tyler's hearing was last. He'd cooperated completely with the investigation, identified every person he'd stolen from, started making payment plans, entered therapy, attended AA meetings daily. The judge reviewed his file carefully. "Mr. Whitaker, you've committed serious crimes. However, your daughter's medical situation, your genuine remorse, and your complete cooperation with authorities compel me to show some mercy." Tyler stood with his court-appointed attorney hands clasped. 3 years probation, full restitution to all victims, weekly therapy, random drug and alcohol testing. If you violate any term, you'll serve the full 5-year sentence. Do you understand? "Yes, Your Honor, thank you." Tyler's voice broke. As we left the courthouse, Tyler walked with me to my car. "Emma's doing well," he said quietly. "The new treatment protocol is working. Her last scans showed the leukemia in remission." "That's wonderful, Tyler." "It's because of the fund Dad set up. The experimental treatment costs $40,000 a month. Without it, she'd be—" He couldn't finish. We stood in the parking lot, December wind cutting through our coats. "I went to his grave yesterday," Tyler said. "Told him I was sorry, that I understood now what he was trying to teach me." He looked at me. "He left me money, Jessica. After everything I did, he still left me a way back." "Why?" I thought about Floyd in his final weeks, setting up trust funds and safety deposit boxes, orchestrating elaborate tests from his hospital bed. "Because you were his son, and he believed people could change if they had a reason to. Emma is my reason now, being someone she can be proud of. Then make him proud too. Live the life he hoped you'd live." The estate was finally settled in January. I sat in Robert Sterling's office while he reviewed the final distributions. The house in Sacramento sold for $865,000. After paying off the mortgage Floyd took out that leaves you free and clear. I'd decided to sell it. Too many ghosts, too many memories of those final terrible weeks. The Lake Tahoe villa is yours, no encumbrances. Current value approximately $750,000. I was keeping that one. Floyd and I had been happy there. The business assets, after paying creditors and making restitution to Brandon and Tyler's victims, netted $230,000. And the Whitaker Holdings account, Robert smiled, $4,742,000, all in your name. Floyd moved it 6 months before he died. I sat back in my chair, overwhelmed. I was a millionaire. At 63 years old, I had more money than I'd ever imagined. Floyd's will also established the Emma Whitaker Medical Trust with $500,000, Robert continued. Separate from the estate, managed by an independent trustee. Emma's care is guaranteed for life. And the trust funds for Brandon and Tyler. Brandon's is forfeit due to his criminal conviction. That money reverts to you. Tyler's trust pays out $50,000 per year as long as he remains sober, employed, and in therapy. If he violates those terms, it stops. Floyd had thought of everything. "There's one more thing." Robert pulled out an envelope. "Floyd left this with instructions to give it to you after the estate was settled." Inside was a letter dated 2 weeks before Floyd's death. "My dearest Jessica, if you're reading this, then everything went according to plan. You found the keys. You discovered the truth. You made choices about what kind of justice Floyd deserves. I don't know what you decided. whether Brandon and Melissa are in prison or whether you found some other way. But I know whatever you chose was right, because you have the clearest moral compass of anyone I've ever known. The money is yours. Use it however you want, but I have one request. Don't let this turn you bitter. Don't let what my sons did poison your heart the way they poisoned my body. You have decades of life ahead of you, Jessica. Live them fully. Fall in love again if you want. Travel. Build something beautiful. Help people the way you always wanted to. Remember the conversations we used to have about turning the Lake Tahoe villa into a retreat, about creating a foundation to help elderly people facing financial abuse. Those weren't just dreams. They were plans. Make them real. I love you beyond measure. Thank you for 22 years of joy. Thank you for fighting for me even after I was gone. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Now go, be happy. It's what I want more than anything. Forever yours, Floyd. I sat in Robert's office and cried. Not from grief this time, but from gratitude. Floyd had given me more than money. He'd given me purpose. 3 months after her sentencing, I received a letter from Melissa. The envelope was marked with the California Institution for Women in Corona. Inside, her handwriting was small and precise. Dear Jessica, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness or understanding. But my therapist says I need to take accountability, so here I am trying. I killed Floyd. Not quickly, not mercifully. I poisoned him over weeks because I wanted him to suffer the way my father suffered. I wanted Tyler to lose everything the way I lost everything. I was wrong. My father wouldn't have wanted this. He was a kind man who believed in second chances. He would be horrified by what I became. Tyler brings Emma to visit sometimes. She's beautiful, 7 years old, bald from chemo but smiling, so full of hope despite everything. When I see her, I realize what I almost destroyed. I robbed her of months with her grandfather. I nearly took away her father by sending him to prison. I became the same thing Tyler was, someone who hurt innocent people because of my own pain. I think about Floyd a lot here, about how he must have known what I was doing. He could have stopped me, had me arrested. But according to Tyler, Floyd left instructions to help me too. To make sure I got therapy, addiction counseling. Why would he do that? Why would a dying man show mercy to his murderer? I don't understand it. Maybe I never will. But I want you to know I'm trying to be better. I'm in therapy twice a week. I'm taking anger management classes. I'm learning to live with what I did. Tyler says you gave him a second chance, that Floyd's will had provisions for redemption. I don't deserve that. But maybe when I get out in 5 years, I can spend the rest of my life earning it. I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover what I took from you. But I'm sorry anyway. Melissa Bradford. I read the letter 3 times. Then I did something that surprised me. I wrote back. Dear Melissa, Floyd believed in second chances because he knew everyone makes mistakes. Some mistakes are bigger than others. Yours cost him his life. I can't forgive that yet. Maybe I never will. But I can acknowledge that you were a victim too of Tyler's crimes, of your own grief, of a system that failed your father. None of that excuses murder, but it explains it. And understanding is the first step toward forgiveness. Use these 5 years to heal, to become someone your father would be proud of. And when you get out, if you're serious about making amends, there's a job waiting for you. I'm starting a foundation to help victims of financial elder abuse. People like your father. We need someone who understands their pain. Think about it. Jessica, the Lake Tahoe villa transformed over 8 months of renovation. Where Floyd and I had celebrated anniversaries, there were now 6 guest bedrooms for women who needed a safe place to heal. Where we'd had quiet dinners, there was a community kitchen where widows could learn to cook for themselves again. The garden where Floyd proposed became a meditation space. And over the front door, a sign, Floyd's Haven, a retreat for renewal. The grand opening was in October, exactly 1 year after Floyd's death. 30 women came that first week, ages ranging from 42 to 86. All of them facing some form of financial abuse or family betrayal. All of them needing a place to rebuild. I stood in the great room with Daniel Harper beside me. We'd been seeing each other for 6 months now. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. Just 2 people who'd been through darkness, finding light together. Floyd would love this, Daniel said, surveying the room full of women sharing stories and tea. He planned it, I reminded him, right down to the curriculum. We'd partnered with legal aid organizations, financial counselors, therapists. The retreat offered week-long programs on everything from estate planning to self-defense to job skills. Sarah Harper Daniels' daughter, the psychologist, ran the trauma counseling sessions. Robert Sterling volunteered legal advice every Thursday. And Tyler came once a month to teach financial literacy classes. Not because I required it, but because he asked to. Jessica, one of the retreat guests, approached a woman in her 50s with kind eyes. "I just want to thank you. My son's wife was stealing from me for 3 years. I thought I was going crazy. Your program helped me see I wasn't alone." I took her hand. "You're not alone. None of us are." That had become the retreat's motto, "You're not alone." On the anniversary of Floyd's death, I received a letter decorated with stickers and childish drawings. "Dear Grandma Jessica, you said I could call you that. Thank you for helping me and Daddy. The doctors say my leukemia is all gone. I'm in remission," Daddy cried when they told us. "I'm 8 now and back in school. I still have to go to the hospital sometimes for checkups, but the nurses say I'm doing great." Daddy talks about Grandpa Floyd a lot. He says Grandpa was a hero who saved my life. I wish I could have known him better. I was only 6 when he died, and I don't remember much except he gave good hugs. Daddy says you're a hero too, that you could have been mean to us, but you chose to be kind instead. He says that's what Grandpa wanted, for people to choose kindness. Can I visit Floyd's Haven sometime? Daddy says it's beautiful and helps sad ladies feel happy again. I'm good at making people smile, and I can help in the garden. Daddy taught me about flowers. Love, Emma. P.S. Daddy wanted me to tell you he's been sober for 400 days. He counts every single day. I pressed the letter to my chest and let the tears come. Floyd had saved Emma, not just with money, but by believing her father could change. And Tyler had changed. Slowly, painfully, but genuinely. He'd made full restitution to every client he'd defrauded, was working 2 jobs to pay them back faster than required, attended AA meetings daily, saw his therapist twice a week. Last month, he'd introduced me to his sponsor, a man named Marcus, who'd been sober for 20 years and helped Tyler understand that redemption was a journey, not a destination. Emma was his reason. But somewhere along the way, Tyler had also found his own. I called him that evening. "Emma's letter was beautiful," I said. "She can visit the retreat any time." "Thank you, Jessica, for everything, for believing I could be better when I didn't believe it myself." Floyd believed it. I just followed his lead. There was a pause. Then Tyler said quietly, "I went to see Brandon last week. I hadn't expected that." "How is he?" "Angry, bitter. He's convinced he's the victim in all this." Tyler's voice was heavy. "I tried to talk to him about the AA program, about making amends. He told me I was weak, that you'd brainwashed me." "I'm sorry, Tyler." "Don't be. Brandon made his choices. He's still making them." A sigh. "But I'm making different ones now. And I wanted you to know next month marks 1 year of sobriety. My sponsor says that's a milestone. I'm having a small celebration. Emma would love it if you came." "I'll be there." 2 years after Floyd's death, I did something I'd been avoiding. I drove to Folsom State Prison to see Brandon. Daniel offered to come with me, but this was something I needed to do alone. The visiting room was exactly like in movies, metal tables, guards watching conversations conducted in low voices. Brandon appeared looking older than his 47 years. Prison had hardened him, erased whatever warmth he'd once possessed. He sat across from me with his arms crossed. "Come to gloat? No. I came to tell you something Floyd wanted you to know." His jaw tightened. "I don't want to hear, 'Your trust fund still exists. $50,000 a year available when you're released if you complete addiction treatment and make restitution for what you stole.'" Brandon stared at me. "What, Floyd never gave up on you? Even knowing what you'd done, he left you a way back." I kept my voice steady. "But you have to choose it, Brandon. You have to choose to be better." "Better?" His laugh was bitter. "Like Tyler playing the reformed addict, sucking up to you for money. Tyler is raising his daughter and making amends to the people he hurt." "What are you doing?" Brandon's face twisted with anger. "I'm surviving in here while you live in luxury off my father's money." "Your father's money that he chose to leave to me. Not because he didn't love you, but because he knew I'd use it to help people. Including you if you'd let me." "I don't need your help." I stood to leave. "Then I'm sorry for you. Because Floyd offered you the same second chance he gave Tyler. The same one he gave me. But you have to take it." "Jessica." Brandon's voice stopped me. "Did he really? Did Dad really set up a trust for me even after everything? I turned back. For the first time, I saw something other than anger in his eyes. Something that might have been hope. He did. Because you were his son and he loved you. But Brandon, the money comes with conditions. Therapy, addiction treatment, honesty. He wanted you to heal, not just to have his wealth. Brandon looked away. I don't know how to be what he wanted. Start by admitting you need help. That's what Tyler did. I left him sitting there, and I didn't know if my words had penetrated his armor or not. But I'd honored Floyd's wishes. I'd offered the second chance. What Brandon did with it was up to him. My cottage in Carmel sat on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. I'd bought it 6 months after the retreat opened when I realized I needed a place that was just mine. No memories of Floyd, no ghosts of the past, just Jessica Whitaker learning to be herself at 65. The garden was coming along beautifully. Roses everywhere, each variety chosen for its resilience and beauty. I'd named them privately Floyd's Dream Deep Red, Tyler's Hope Yellow with red edges, Emma's Joy Pink and delicate but strong. No rose for Brandon yet. Maybe someday. Daniel visited twice a month. We'd never moved in together, and I didn't think we would. We both valued our independence too much, but we loved each other in the quiet way of people who'd seen the worst of life and chosen to build something gentle. The Floyd Whitaker Foundation for Financial Justice had expanded beyond my wildest dreams. We'd helped prosecute 42 cases of elder financial abuse in 2 years, recovered over $8 million for victims, lobbied for stronger protections in California law. Floyd's Haven had served over 300 women. 78% successfully rebuilt their financial security. Many went on to volunteer, helping the next wave of women who needed support. I'd published my memoir 6 months ago, Inheriting Truth, A Widow's Journey from Betrayal to Justice. It hit the New York Times bestseller list, Oprah's book club selection, movie rights sold. But more importantly, it helped thousands of women realize they weren't alone. My phone rang. Tyler. Jessica, I have news. Emma's 5-year remission milestone is official. The doctors say she's cured. I closed my eyes, grateful tears spilling over. That's wonderful, Tyler. Wonderful. We're having a celebration. Small thing, just family. Would you and Daniel come? Of course. And Jessica, I wanted to tell you I'm getting married. Her name is Rachel. She's a teacher, knows all about my past, and loves Emma like her own. She's good for us. I'm happy for you, Tyler. Truly. After we hung up, I sat in my garden watching the sunset paint the ocean gold and pink. Tyler was building a new life. Emma was healthy. The foundation was thriving. Women across California were getting help because Floyd had believed in truth and second chances. And I was happy. Not the desperate, clinging happiness of someone afraid to lose what they have, but the deep, quiet happiness of someone who'd walked through fire and come out stronger. I visited Floyd's grave on a sunny morning in March, 3 years after his death. The headstone was simple granite with words I'd chosen carefully. Floyd Whitaker, beloved husband. The truth will set you free. I placed fresh roses, red ones, his favorite. Hey, sweetheart. I sat on the bench nearby. It's been 3 years. Feels like forever and yesterday at the same time. The cemetery was quiet, peaceful. Just me and the man I'd loved. Brandon wrote to me last week. First letter in 2 years. He's completed 6 months of addiction treatment. Says he's sorry. I don't know if I believe him yet, but it's a start. I traced the carved letters of his name. Tyler's getting married. To a good woman who loves Emma. Your granddaughter is thriving, Floyd. She's 9 now, wants to be a doctor. Says she's going to cure cancer so no other kids have to go through what she did. A breeze rustled the trees overhead. The retreat is expanding. We're opening a second location in San Diego. Robert's managing the legal side. Daniel and I are, well, we're happy. You'd like him. He's patient and kind, and he makes me laugh. I paused, gathering my thoughts. I'm not angry anymore. At Brandon for what he did. At Melissa for the poison. Even at you for keeping so many secrets. I smiled through tears. I understand now. You were protecting me the only way you knew how, by giving me the truth and trusting me to know what to do with it. The sun warmed my face. I chose mercy, Floyd, over vengeance. I gave them all second chances because that's what you would have wanted. Some of them took it, some didn't, but I offered it. I stood touching the cool stone one more time. I'm happy. Really, truly happy. I'm building something beautiful from the ashes you left me. I'm helping people. I'm living fully, just like you asked. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed. A text from the retreat new guest just arrived. Says she was abused by her son's family for years. She's scared but hopeful. Thought you'd want to know. I texted back, tell her she's not alone. I'll be there in an hour, because that was my purpose now. What Floyd had given me by orchestrating his elaborate plan. Not just money or property or justice, but the power to help others find their way from darkness to light, just like I had. 10 years after Floyd's death, Floyd's Haven had expanded to 5 locations across California. We'd served over 2,000 women, helped them rebuild lives that family members had tried to destroy. The Floyd Whitaker Foundation had recovered over $40 million for elderly victims of financial abuse. 28 states had adopted our model legislation for stronger protections. I was 73 years old and had never been busier or more fulfilled. Tyler was sober, 12 years married to Rachel, and they'd given Emma 2 younger siblings. He ran a financial counseling nonprofit, helping people avoid the mistakes he'd made. Emma was 19, pre-med at UC Berkeley. She volunteered at the retreat every summer, her energy and hope inspiring everyone she met. Melissa had been released after serving 5 years. She'd come to work for the foundation as director of victim advocacy. It took me 3 years to trust her, but she'd earned it with patient, steady work. She'd written her own book, From Revenge to Redemption, Learning to Live with What I've Done. And Brandon was the complicated one. He'd served 10 years before parole, completed every program the prison offered, written me letters every month, each one showing slow, painful growth. When he was released, I offered him what Floyd had promised the trust fund, a job at the foundation doing financial education and a chance to rebuild. He'd been out for 6 months, still awkward around me, still carrying shame, but trying. Last week, he'd attended his first family dinner, Tyler, Rachel, Emma, the kids, Daniel, and me. Brandon had brought flowers and stumbled through an apology that made everyone cry. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a start. I sat in my Carmel garden on a spring morning, journaling like I did every day. The roses were in full bloom, dozens of varieties now, each one representing someone whose life had touched mine. Floyd's dream roses climbed the trellis, red and resilient. Tyler's hope bloomed yellow and complex. Emma's joy spread pink petals in the sunlight. And this year I'd planted a new variety. White roses with red tips, beautiful but requiring extra care. I called them Brandon's Redemption, because that's what Floyd's elaborate plan had really been about. Not revenge, not even justice. Redemption. For his sons. For me. For everyone who'd made mistakes and needed to find their way back. My phone buzzed. A text from the Sacramento retreat woman just arrived, 67 years old. Daughter-in-law stealing her Social Security. Scared, broke, nowhere to go. She needs to know she's not alone. I smiled and typed back, on my way. Tell her she's about to start the hardest and best journey of her life. Because that's what Floyd had given me. Not just an inheritance of money, an inheritance of purpose. The truth had set me free. Now I spent my days helping others find their own freedom. I looked at Floyd's picture on my desk, both of us laughing at our 20th anniversary. Thank you, my love, I whispered, for believing I was strong enough, for trusting me with the truth, for giving me a reason to keep going. The roses swayed in the ocean breeze, and somewhere I swear I could hear Floyd's voice. You were always strong enough, Jessica. You just needed to believe it yourself. And I did now. Finally, completely, I believed it.